Hello students and welcome to the session. In this video I am going to analyze passage number 3 of CAT 2020 question paper slot 1. Here we go with a quick snapshot of the passage and then I'll start analyzing the questions. This passage number 3 is divided into 5 paragraphs. This is a very simple to understand passage. Let's first take a look at the structure of the passage. In the first 4 paragraphs, the author explains the different ways in which the different currencies in China were used during the Tang Dynasty period. This is the basic content of the first 4 paragraphs. In the 5th paragraph, he draws a comparison between the modern currency, as in the usage of modern currency, and the way the currencies were used during the Tang Dynasty period, and brings forth some striking similarities between the two. Once you understand this, you are done with the comprehension of the passage, broadly speaking, and then you can start solving the questions. Question number 10. According to the passage, the modern currency system shares all of the following features with that of the Tang except that. So you're supposed to find an option which indicates lack of commonality between the modern currency system and the system during the Tang period. So which is not the common factor between these two systems. Let's figure out the first one. It uses different currencies for different situations. All these 3 currencies, if you remember, coins, grains and textile, were used for different situations. Like for smaller payments, coins were used. For larger payments, the textile was used. For tax related payments, food grains were used. Different currencies were used for different situations during the Tang period. You can remember these details even without going back to the passage. Okay, now we're talking about the modern era. Coins were used for smaller payments, banknotes and other such instruments were used for larger payments. So it's very clear that this is definitely a common factor between the Tang era and the modern era. Let's look at the second option. Its currencies fluctuate in value over time. This is not very clearly indicated but can be inferred from the information given in the passage. See, there is a common currency used in both the periods, coins. Coins is common to both the periods, and it's very clearly indicated in the passage that the value of the coins fluctuated over a period of time. Look at this sentence, it will become clear to you. The values of different textiles were also more stable than the fluctuating values of coins. So the values of coins fluctuated and coins were used in the modern era also. I mean, coins are used in the modern era also, and therefore we can say that this could also be a common factor. This can also be a common factor between the currency system of the Tang era and the modern era. Now it is undergoing transformation. It is not mentioned in the passage that during Tang era there was any kind of transformation in the currency system. It is only mentioned it's only mentioned as regards to the modern era. See, in actuality, just read this portion, you understand this. In actuality, our own currency system today has some similarities even as it is changing in front of our eyes. So transformation is indicated as regards to the modern era only and not as regards to the Tang system. So very clearly, the system undergoing transformation, it's the modern era system and not the Tang era. So this is not a common factor and this must be the answer. It uses different materials as currency is very clearly brought forth in the last paragraph. Like in the modern era, different materials are used, like banknotes are used, checks are used, coins are used, and so is the case with the Tang era also. Like coins, food grains and textile were used. And therefore the obvious choice in that case would be the third one. Question number 11. If you read the question number 11 carefully, you can very quickly solve this question. During the Tang period, which one of the following would not be an economically sound decision for a small purchase in the local market that is worth 1/8 of the bolt? Look at the highlighted portion, worth 1/8 of the bolt. Now you can find this answer quite easily because this is a direct question. The answer to this question lies in this portion of the passage. Furthermore, a full bolt had a particular value if consumers cut textiles into smaller pieces to buy or sell something worth less than a full bolt. Exactly tallies with 1/8 of the bolt, which is worth less than a full bolt, and therefore herein lies the answer. So cutting of the textiles would reduce the value, and that would make it economically unviable. And that much is very clear, and that must be our correct choice. Now you quickly scan the options. Making the payment with the appropriate weight of grain, it is not related to that. Cutting 1/8 of the fabric from a new bolt to pay the amount. Exactly, this should be the answer. So no more analysis is required. You can just mark second as the correct option. Other options, as you can see, you can very quickly eliminate them based on this understanding. Question number 12. When discussing textiles as currency in the Tang period, the author uses the word steady and stable to indicate all of the following except, which means three options would belong to one category and one would be the odd one out. Let's figure out. This is the portion from which the examiner has framed the question. Let's read it. Furthermore, the dimensions of a bolt of silk held remarkably steady from the 3rd to the 10th century, which means this talks about measurement. So that is sorted. 56 centimeter wide and 12 meter long. The values of different textiles were also more stable than the fluctuating values of coins, which means the values of coins were fluctuating while the values of different textiles were stable. So from the stability of values, what can be inferred? Let's see. Reliable quality and reliable supply both can be inferred, because if quality is not reliable, value may take a hit, and if supply is not reliable, even then the value may take a hit, and therefore all the three can be inferred, 2, 3 and 4, as in the author uses the word steady and stable to indicate reliable quality, reliable supply and reliable measurement. But transportation is nowhere in picture. It cannot be inferred or connected with this. Therefore the correct option is the first one. It's clearly the odd one out. Question number 30. In the context of the passage, which one of the following can be inferred with regard to the use of currency during the Tang era? Option 1. Grains were the most used currency because of the government requirements. Let us figure it out. We'll need to go back to the passage. Let's read this portion. Grain, because it rotted easily, was not used nearly as much as coins and textiles. So contradictory information is given here. Grain was not as much used as coins and textiles, and in the option it's given that grains were most used, and therefore it's clearly false. The second option, currency usage was similar to that of modern times. This is what the passage is all about. In fact, there's a very clear comparison in which the author tells us that the usage was similar. This I have already explained to you. Third one, uh, copper coins were more valuable and durable than textiles, which means if this inference is to be drawn, or if this inference is to be valid, in that case both these qualities should be there in the copper coins, as in they should be more durable and more valuable. If you go back to the passage quickly, you can figure it out that copper coins were more durable, as in the coins were more durable. This is indicated, and here if you read, as coins had advantage, so too did textiles. If in circulation for a long period of time, they could show signs of wear and tear. So durability was definitely better in case of copper coins. What about value? Once you read this portion, it becomes very clear. The values of different textiles were also more stable than the fluctuating values of coins. Again, we find a contradictory piece of information here. So this cannot be inferred. The value of coins was not more than the values of textiles. In fact, here it's indicated that the values of textiles were more stable than the fluctuating values of coins. Option 3 therefore is only partly true. The copper coins were more valuable is false, more durable is true, and therefore this cannot be inferred. Fourth one, currency that deteriorated easily was not used for official work. Let's see where the related information is given in the passage. Which is the currency that deteriorated easily? Grain is that currency. Let us read what's written about that. Grain, because it rotted easily, was not used nearly as much as coins and textiles, but taxpayers were required to pay grain to the government as a share of their annual tax obligations, and official salaries were expressed in weights of grain. official salaries were expressed in weights of grain. From this we can infer that the grains were actually used for official work. This can be inferred. So currency that deteriorated easily was used for official work. Here again it's the opposite is given, and therefore this is not true. This cannot be inferred. And as I have already explained to you, the point in the second option is the one that's brought forth by the author in the passage by and large. This is one of the main points of the passage. Take a look at the last paragraph. In actuality, our own currency system today has some similarities. We have cash coins for small transactions, like paying for parking at a meter, and banknotes for other items. Cards often larger types of payments. See, so he is pinpointedly talking about the difference in usage. So the difference in usage existed during the Tang period, and the difference in usage exists today in the present currency system. This being the case, we can very clearly infer option number 2, as in the currency usage was similar to that of modern times, and therefore this is the correct choice. So solving a passage requires a proper mental mapping of the passage and some very good observation. Thank you.